Welcome to Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary podcast. This is your host, Scotty B. Our guest today is a bi-coastal singer, actress, model, writer, and cosplayer. A classically trained actress, she's been in commercials, short films, documentaries, TV series, and live theater. Inside of cosplay, she's an inspiration, having worked in charity events, at conventions, and on several productions, all in the name of fandom, with no loss of energy or enthusiasm in every single thing she does. I am beyond thrilled to introduce to you the very talented Jacobella Luongo.
Oh my gosh, that was such a nice introduction. Thank you. I'm
Well,
so happy
of
to be
course.
here.
No, this is great. I'm so glad that we had a little bit of time to talk before, and
Yeah.
it's so good to have you on the show. Super excited to share your story and to go through everything that you've worked on. Just such an amazing person,
Oh my God, thank
and the things that you do inside of cosplay are just so interesting and so amazing. So,
you so
not to embarrass you too much, but certainly do want to talk about everything and anything, and hopefully it won't go more than 3 or 4 hours.
much.
Um, so let's go back if you're up to it.
Yes.
Origin stories are always fun.
Yeah.
So once upon a time, Jacobella, and can we call you Bella on the
Yeah,
podcast?
please. Yes, please do. All my friends do.
We go back to when Bella was young, and it all started at a performance of the Nutcracker with you saying, "I want to be
Yeah.
up there."
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I never forgot it. And I was little. I had to be probably like 3 or 4. My mother used to take us. I grew up in Rye, New York. I don't know if you know where that is, but it's like 30 minutes outside the city. And she used to take us to these productions of the Nutcracker that the university would put on in that area at Purchase College. She used to do all kinds of shows and art. And every year she would take us, and I will never forget. The image that I have in my head from when I was really small is the snowflake fairies and like the lighting and the sparkles, and when that dance came on, I just remember being a kid and being like, that is the most amazing thing I have ever seen in my life. I never forgot it. And so much so that I went home, and I forced my older brother, to do like a performance with me. I was like, we're gonna do. I called it the Ice Princess, of course, because I freaking just watched the Nutcracker. I made my parents sit in the doorway of my room, and that was like the stage. And I was like, you have to sit here, and we're gonna do this whole show. And I had like music, and I used like my flashlights as like little lighting, and from there it was like uh, I just didn't stop. I was like, I have to do this. I have to do this.
And lucky for all of us, you didn't stop. You just kept going, and it kept improving, and it really is your passion, and you
I
can
love it.
tell from everything that I've watched. And we'll have all sorts of links in the notes so that everybody can look, and find out more about you, Bella. But the acting bug grew. Can I call it that? Is that
Oh
okay?
yeah.
Is that
It's
cliche? I don't know.
No, it's totally a bug. It's totally like if it bites you, like yeah, well, you can't stop. So you just like, I gotta do this. So you know, it's the
But
drive.
that Well, it followed you until you hit cosplay in 2014,
Yeah,
and you were a
yeah,
spokesmodel
I
and
was.
at Phoenix Comic Con, and that kind of got you started into cosplay. So that's like your next origin story, I guess. First, you started and you knew you had to do acting.
Yeah.
Then cosplay became kind of an outlet.
Yeah, a really big one that I wasn't expecting really. I don't know why it didn't like occur to me before. I got that job. It was a modeling job originally, right? So I didn't, but then they were like, it was sort of their take on a Lara Croft character. And I was like, hey man, cool, like I'm down. So I did that, and it was spokesmodeling during the day. And then I was assisting in a panel later, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I was like so overwhelmed when I got there. And I didn't know what to expect because I'm trying to remember the first convention I ever went to. I think I am like 90% sure that it was that. I might have attended one New York Comic Con before that, but I don't think so. I think it was the one in Phoenix. And I was just like, what is this? Like, it was a whole new world for me. And the people I met were so cool. And I couldn't believe that I had lived my life for so long without like realizing that there were so many people out there that I had things in common with, that were interested in talking about the stuff that I loved and getting to know the characters that I love. Like, we all this stuff in common and creating stuff. And I was just like, oh, okay, I need to really pay more attention to this. And I sort of like went back and forth a little bit until 2016, which is when I did my first real like little cosplay build, like my own. And then I had spoken to a couple of photographer friends of mine that I'd known from work, and I was like, hey, I what actually sparked it was I had a really awful um tragedy happen, and I was sort of like lost and heartbroken and sad, and I really didn't know what to do or where to go from there. I was like, how do I try and put my life back together?
Mhm.
Um, and I started rewatching like all these old films, and films I watch all the time anyway. Star Wars, one of them, I love Star Wars. Oh my God.
Which
And
one? I have to interrupt. Which one's your favorite?
oh my God. Okay. So it's definitely a tie between Empire and A New Hope. I think Empire is my favorite one. I think so. But A New Hope, it's just that was the first one I ever saw as a kid. And I have this such an attachment to it because it was like the whole opening of the whole world for me. And I was obsessed with Luke Skywalker. I have a scar on my leg because I was trying to be Luke Skywalker as a kid, and it didn't work. So I have like impaled myself.
Oh,
But yeah, trying to be a
um,
Jedi.
not while you were in Phoenix, but right around the same time, you were in Edward the Second.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Um, that was fun. That was
that's
fun.
it's really challenging. I mean, Annie Shakespeare's really challenging.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about your experience with Bill.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh. Bill the
Bill
Bard.
Shakespeare.
Bill the Bard, the great bard. I love Shakespeare. That one, that show was actually a Marlowe play, but there's all these debates, and I'm not really caught up on it, and I don't really know. There was some information that came out years ago where it was like Shakespeare wrote it, Marlowe wrote it. They were the same person, they were different people. So I don't. Somebody who knows more than me would be able to answer that. I don't know, but yeah, Shakespeare is like so unbelievably visceral in a way. Like the language is so when you study there's so much in like one sentence. Sometimes it even if you read the full length plays, I just get like annoyed because I'm like, hey, there's so much talking. Like you can just go right, like if you hadn't done this and this, all of your problems would be fixed, right? But that's the absolute beauty of it, is that it can be so utterly ridiculous that all of these people are living. I mean, I don't know if I want to speak for like every Shakespeare character. I don't know about that, but like some,
Well, we can. That's okay.
some
We'll just overgeneralize. That's fine.
yeah, right. We'll just completely put everyone in a little umbrella. Um, but like the perfect example would be like Romeo and Juliet. Like they're living at this speed of life that is like 110%. And it's not only I love you, but it's like I love you and I will die for you right now. Like that's fine. That's okay, And getting to do that on stage, and once you really like click in with your scene partner, and you've studied the language in and out, and you've gotten it into your body, and you know it, it's going to come out of your mouth. It's so Shakespeare. I personally, I do feel like performing on a stage is freeing no matter what, but Shakespeare in particular is like so visceral. It comes just out of your core in a way that is so much fun, and it can be so brash and so obnoxious and really really beautifully touching, just in the way that he's formed sentences. It's unbelievable. It's not like anything else, and it's so living. It's like it's like, I'm such a romantic at heart, and I love Star Wars. I love all these epic things, and Shakespeare is very epic. It can be very, very epic. And the
Oh,
story,
yes.
yeah, and I love it. I love it. I'm so there for that. That's probably one of my favorite things to do on stage in Shakespeare because of that. Um, because of how human it is. And it's fun to be epic, but it also, the connection that you can find with an audience, when they really click in, is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It's amazing, the stories you could tell with what he's written and left for us. It's like, it's so cool.
Yep. And well, and it easily translates to every age.
Yeah.
It's very timeless. Even
Yeah.
though, the language is very, once you get through that, it's just you develop this sort of relationship with it, and very cool
Yeah.
to experience it live, to do it. I mean, oh, that
Yeah.
has to be, anything on stage is amazing, but to do Shakespeare, that's why I brought it up, because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, she's done Shakespeare. I have to know
Yeah.
what goes through
It's
her mind and how she's relating to it. So
Oh
very
God,
cool.
I so much relate, so much, spending depending on what character you play, but it's so easy to relate to so many of them, and he's written so many of the like types of characters that people pull from today. Still, they try, they're still looking for, how can I tell a human story? And a lot of people will go back to Shakespeare because it's just all like right there. And like you said, timeless. Like you can take any story, any play, and stick it in any time period that you want to. And that's really fun to play with too, to see how dynamic it is, and to see, like, you can apply it to something going on in modern times, you can apply it to something in recent history, and the story and the point will still get across in that way. It's so cool.
Yes, and someday we might see Joker quoting Hamlet
That would be
in
awesome.
a fan-made film. Who knows? It
Right,
would be
yeah.
pretty epic. I've been thinking about, like, I don't have a TikTok right now, but I thought it would be kind of fun to have, like, the Riddler character that I've
Oh
done
my
once
gosh, that's so
do
cool.
do something like quote Shakespeare. I'd have to go and find books to do that,
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
I think it'd be fun. I hope Cumbermatch listens to this, because he seems like he likes to look for different things to do on TikTok. So Cumberbatch, do Shakespeare.
Yeah, do
If you're
Shakespeare.
listening, do Shakespeare. It'd
Yeah.
be very cool. But you have such a varied and broad experience, not just with Shakespeare, but film, theater. You've done shorts, you've done features, you've done documentaries, you've done live performance, you've been commercials. How does cosplay fit into what you do, and what do you love about it? And has it influenced, like, has all of that work influenced some of the choices that you've made with your cosplay and the characters that you've chosen?
Yeah, um, definitely. I think cosplay, when I started to explore it more, it at first was like a way to sort of find inspiration, like in dealing with a lot of pain at that time. I was like, the characters that I chose really, really inspire me all the time, every day. I love them so much. And ever since I was a little kid. And so I was like, I was like, wait, okay, I'm an actor, I model, I love taking photos, I love making costumes. What am I doing that I'm not doing this? I was like, I don't understand how I didn't figure that out sooner. Um, so yeah, it fits into what I do so easily. Like cosplay to me, and I feel this way about modeling too. Like, I guess it's obviously, I know it's different for everyone, of course, but for me, it's like a character that you're bringing to life, regardless of whether or not it's in still images or moving pictures, right? So it's like you get an opportunity, especially with these giant, such, really well loved characters. If I can bring something of her, of Leia or Ray or Belle out in me, that helps me, that inspires me, And then when I saw other people responding to that, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I do anyway. The the whole reason why
Mhm.
I love acting so much is because of the communication that you see between people.
Yeah, so you've starred in and written films. One that I'll mention here, Trial 18, which won awards for acting, best picture, directing, editing, cinematography, and screenplay. Would you like to talk about Trial 18 and how it came together and just the inspiration? I mean, you wrote it. So how did where did you find the inspiration for writing the whole story and for then putting everything together?
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was certainly an adventure. Because Trial 18 actually, that was one of the first things that I ever wrote. It was a 48-hour film. So it was done, we had 48 hours to do it. And there are these, I'm sure a lot of people know what that is, but there's a lot of competitions you can sign up for. And you get a team and you have 48 hours to make a 6-minute film. It's
Oh
like, and
wow.
yeah, it's super, super insane. And I think it's really, really good for any kind of filmmaker, no matter what level you're at, to do those every once in a while, because it reminds you of, okay, this is what I have to do. I have to execute it properly and right, and I have to do it like fast, and it reminds you of all the aspects that you need to have respect for when you're trying to make something that big.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just helps you like sharpen your skills a little bit because you have this like ridiculous time crunch. So that one, the way that it happened was you don't know when you show up on Friday night, you don't know what kind of genre you're gonna get. You have no idea. And we picked action, and we were like, so how are we gonna do that in 48 hours with like like no budget? So my friend Brendan Gregory, actually, his Instagram is Brendo Grego, and he is a freaking amazing filmmaker and actor and everything. He's ridiculously talented. He was him and I wrote it together, and I I'm very, I mean, he's one of my best friends in the whole world, but I'm also just really grateful because him and I, it's easy for us. We sort of, once we start talking, we're like, oh, obviously like this and that. And we should write this. And when we were doing Trial 18, we stayed up till 2 in the morning that night. And we were just like, but what if there was this tree? Like we were like throwing all these ideas out there. Um, and what we ended up doing, fun fact, is sort of biting off more than we could chew in for a 6-minute film. I think Trial 18 really desperately wants to be like a 15-minute film. And if we haven't had the chance to yet, but we want to go back and revisit it and expand it so that the cuts are not quite so brutal and it can be explored more because the story, there was so much to it. And when you're given
Hmm.
action, you're like, oh, I can be like totally ridiculous. It was so fun. And I actually, fun fact about Trial 18, I got the flu when we were shooting that. So I was sick. Like, you can't believe. I had a high fever. And I was just
Oh.
like, I was so bad. And I was just like, oh, we got to get through. We got to get through. And there's one scene where I'm just running through the forest repeatedly. And I fell at one point because I was trying to like slickly slide under this log, and like look like I knew what I was doing. And at one point after like the third or fourth take, I fell and I was like, can I just stay here for like 5 minutes? Like, just 5 minutes.
I need a timeout,
Yeah, just like a
please.
quick timeout, please. Um, it was so much fun. And it's overwhelming and crazy to do it that way, especially when you're like an action film. Um, but it was awesome, and that team is amazing. Everyone who worked on that are really, really very talented people. So it came together. I was really grateful to have worked with them. And in terms of inspiration, I mean, I am a very emotional person, like probably to a fault. I wear my heart on my sleeve. It's so hard for me to lie, which is, kind of embarrassing and pathetic because people are always like, I know that that's not what you think. So yeah, like, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm sorry. So the writing is, it's, I've, I don't know what it is. I've done it ever since I was a little kid. I have so many journals. They're all over there piled in my room, just like piles of journals that I've written ever since I was a kid. And it the inspiration comes from usually some event or relationship or something that I've experienced in my life that then I think, oh wow, this connection goes to this connection and that connection and that connection, and then it just sort of pours out of a need to express something that I don't know any other way other than to how to express it than to just try and like write it all down on paper. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. It's kind of
Well, that's the process. That's how it works.
yeah.
That's how it comes together. And sometimes messy action's a little bit better. Like if you
Yeah.
don't, if better than taking no action. So
Yeah, that's true.
not that journaling is always an action, but it is. Like it can be therapy. It can be a way to get things out of your head and stay
Yeah.
clear and focused. And it can also, those are some of your best ideas sometimes, like when you wake up and you just write things down. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's how it works. That's how things come together.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps me. It helps me deal with my, you know, 1,000 mile a minute brain. It helps me be like, you should read these words that you wrote and go from there.
Um, could you could you talk to me about talk to me? I was a short film by Dragon Farm Productions, which you did in 2018, and it went on YouTube in June of the same year. And we'll be sure to link to this in the show notes because it's very cool. I just I won't share too much of my opinion and too much of the story, but oh, it's so good. And in contrast to the action short, so Trial 2 was heavy action, and you know this kind of goes through a very different approach, and it's a lot more about storytelling. It's very minimal in terms of like set and cast and props. It's just two people, and it really could take place anywhere. I mean, you could probably be on an empty stage. I think everyone
Yeah.
would still get what was going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow. How does the storytelling, like, how does the storytelling change when you have something like that where it's very minimal?
Yeah. I think the like the biggest difference, I guess, when you have like a lot to do and a lot of set or a lot of props, it's fun because it puts you right there wherever it is you're supposed to go, right? And it's super fun and like and and captivating. When it's minimal, I think, and I was thinking about this earlier. I actually was like, what an interesting thing, because you should be the ideal, the hope would be that you are connected with your scene partner no matter what you're doing, no matter what your set is, no matter how much crazy stuff you have to do. That's the goal, right? To be there with them and to tell something that's true, right? To quote my acting professor, Meisner said, acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. So
Ooh.
that's taped on my bookshelf over there. You know, he would be so happy my senior year of college to hear me say that. But yeah, it's just that. So that's the goal. No matter what you're doing. But when it's so minimal, you can almost feel the intimacy of it. And that film in particular, when Norman, who's sort of the head of Dragon Farm Productions, he's very, very talented. He's awesome. He actually showed me the script and he was like, I really want to do this film with you. Do you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, I read it and I was like, that is such a beautiful idea. Like what does it mean to try to deal with something that those two characters are going through?
Hmm.
um and the intimacy of it is it becomes vulnerable very, very quickly because you don't have things to hide behind. It's like it's all here, it's all in your face, and your heart, it's like and it's those two characters in particular. I don't know if I should give too much away. I don't know what I should give away. It's sort of like they are the same in a way, if you know what I mean. And it's almost like the husband is trying to grapple with what has happened and what does that even mean, and how do you it means so many different things to so many different people. And I thought it was a really, really cool idea to try and explore what that could mean to one person.
Well, because when you first watch it, and I guess I will make this comment. When you first watch it, you really almost vilify the
Yeah.
husband.
Yeah.
You think like, oh, he's just What is wrong with this guy? Like,
Like, why is he such a jerk?
dude. Another project that you worked on was called Joker Long Live the Prince.
Yeah.
And it is actually the first time that we get to see you as Harlequin.
Yeah.
But
Purple.
the short itself mainly focused on the Joker. I did watch it as a very cool portrayal
Oh,
of the
cool.
character.
Yes,
I
CJ's
like what they
great.
did.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of dialogue. It's hard to manage.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, but how talk about how you decided that you wanted to become Harley Quinn and what you really enjoy about the character.
Oh my gosh, I love her so much. So she kind of came to me as like a little, gift from the universe. I obviously, I mean, I loved Batman the animated series when I was a kid. I was obsessed with it, and I
Mm.
had this like awesome like toy, that you could like unfold, and it was supposed to be Gotham City, and I had Batman and Joker, and you could like flip over the trash cans. It was the coolest thing. I was like I loved it when I was a kid, and I always knew who she was, but I didn't really know her like a lot of other people. I grew up with her, yes, but I didn't really know the character so well until these shorts really started happening. Um, they came to me and they were like, "We want to do a Joker short, and we want to do a Harley Quinn short, and we want you to be Harley." And at first I was utterly intimidated. I was so scared because I was like, Harley Quinn. So many people, amazing actresses have played her. She is beloved by so many people. There are so many different takes on her, and the idea of trying to fill those shoes in any capacity whatsoever, even just the fan films like we do, it was just really intimidating to me at first. Um, and then I started looking at her and reading about her and watching all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this is just an explosion of like humanity, like raw humanity in this
Hmm.
character. And also because she's a comic book character, like ridiculousness. And it was so fun. It was so much fun. And that short actually was done in one take, which was a little difficult to accomplish. And especially since that set, we were thrilled to find that set, but it was like an abandoned warehouse. It was a fan film. So we were like, we just want to do this, because we love these characters. We didn't really like have uh like budget on that. It was very,
Hmm.
very extremely minimal. Yeah, and some of the graffiti that was already in there was like really, really crazy stuff. Like I don't want to know what people did in there when we weren't in there. I don't ever want to know. But there was a really cool. I have pictures from the first day that we found it. There was like the acting masks, the drama masks next to each other, which I loved. There was this skull, this giant neon skull, and under it it said, "You make me sick." And I was like, that's crazy. And then yeah, like what? And then
What?
yeah, and then there was another one that said, "I wish humans didn't exist anymore." And there was like eyes, and I don't know what, people had a ball in there before we even got there. We just added like, Arkham and like Joke Jay was here and all that stuff. Um so it was like someone just handed it to you out of the comics. And yeah, when I started to really get to know her, and she was so freeing for me. Like I was like this. It was like it just clicked, and I couldn't believe that I hadn't found her before. That I hadn't figured out all these things beforehand. But she is so dynamic. There's so much about her that makes you constantly ask questions because you can never quite put your finger on her. You don't really know what she is. Is she a villain? Is she an anti-hero? She's kind of both. She goes
Hmm.
back and forth depending on what you're reading and what you're seeing. And I just fell totally in love with her, like I'm, like millions of other people have. And I was so thankful to get handed this script. It's um there's so much more to come. That's really all I can
Oh,
say as far as that. But there's so much more to
previews.
come, and I hope no matter what it is that the other people who love her as much as I do are going to be happy with what they see. That's all I want. It's fans. It's for fans, and I'm a fan, and that's all it is. It's a fan film, so
Exactly,
you know.
exactly right. And I will make one comment that Harlequin really does play a very important role here on the show because some of the concepts for Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary came from Heroes in Crisis, which is a DC take. So Harlequin gets accused of a crime, a very serious one, in that because there's another guy who we
Yeah.
all know. I don't know if everybody knows the story, but basically the Flash kills a bunch of people, and it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
blames it on Harlequin to some degree, but she has so many good spots in that whole piece, and just
That.
some of the things that she talks about in the comic books. Like the best place to go and find it for me was Comics Explained. He goes through the whole story,
Yeah.
and it's just such a good story, and it just the way that everybody gets to be in that particular comic series versus when they have to be superheroes. This is kind of the space where they don't.
Yeah.
But that's, I'll always know. Um, and one of my favorite lines from that is when she says, "I hate pudding."
Yeah. Yes.
So
I
that's,
that
yeah.
that comic I read recently, and it's one of my favorites, I think, of all time that I've ever read. To be really honest with you, I think that's one of my all-time favorites, especially of the new stuff. It was so good. And it made me cry like 45 times. Like a
It's
lot.
rough. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a beautiful one. And I love her in that. And I love the page of her and Ivy. That
Mm.
page is just like so beautiful. I want a poster of it.
And one fun thing that you've done with Harlequin that I would love to hear about, that we would love to hear about, is the time that you spent with the New York Avengers at an event called hashtag Love for Lovey. And it was last November, so November 2019. And you put on your Harlequin, and you were there with Liza, and you were there with Samantha Cosplay, and so many other people. I mean, all the New York Avengers were there.
Yeah.
But would you like to talk about the event and how Harlequin fit in with everything
Yeah.
that was going on?
That was just a really, really beautiful thing to be a part of, and I'm so grateful. My friend Liza, Liza Cosplay, I've known her. We went to college together, and I love her. She's unbelievably talented, and we had actually just done a little shoot for Halloween together, and she was like, "Hey, my friends, the New York Avengers are doing this event for Lovey Lee." And it was to help him. He had an accident, and it was a charity to support him. And I was like, yeah, I would love to do this. And it was one of the it was so that's after that event, I really was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this so much more, because the people, the New York Avengers, and the photographers involved in that event, and everyone there, they're just such amazing people. They are smart, they're kind, they're welcoming, they love their fandoms, and they execute their work in a way that's like unbelievably amazing, frankly. And they do so many beautiful things with it. And that was a perfect example of it. It was like, let's take some really cool photos to help our friend who needs it.
Mhm.
And I just really, really respected that. I was so happy to be there. And really, when I met them, that was the first time that I met any of the New York Avengers, really. And they were just so kind and welcoming to me. And I was, because I was me, I was like nervous. I don't know. I'm so shy, ironically, and like kind of always like when people don't like me. And the second I walked in, yeah, like I'm always like
What?
that. I know. I'm very like, ugh. And so the second I walked in there, I was just like, just felt relief. Everyone was happy to talk to me, to get to know me. Like the community is really, really amazing, and I think rare. It's a rare thing to find people who are that open and kind and welcoming and giving of themselves, and amazing artists. Like It was so cool. And after that, I sort of was like, I really want to do this more because it just is such a cool place a cool like community to be a part of. I really, really respect them all as artists, and it's like, I was like, then the cosplay bug kind of bit more. I was like, I want to do this. This is like so cool.
Well, we are coming to the close of the show, and it's always sad. But I do always wrap up with a few questions that are a little bit random, and then the last one is always the same. So if you're ready, I've already asked you a bunch of questions, but these will be a little bit different. So I'll go with the first question. Favorite cosplay role to play and favorite non-cosplay role to play. So I guess that's the question. So what is your favorite, what would be like, what's your ultimate cosplay role, and what is your favorite or your ultimate non-cosplay role? Anything else?
And it can be anything that like ever.
Anything ever.
Oh my gosh. Well.
So, you could say Tree from Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
If you want.
The flying monkeys. Let's see. Cosplay is so hard. I sort of picked like 4 characters that I'm pretty obsessed with. 3 in particular, Leia, Rey, Belle, and Harley. Those are my 4 like dream everything characters. And it's so hard to pick one of them because I am just utter trash for all 4 of them. I will do anything for them all the time. But like, I think really it depends on my like mood of the day. Like if I wake up, sometimes that's how I do my posts. I'll be like, do I want to post today? And then I'll be like, how am I feeling about it? And I'll be like, I need a little Harley in my life. I need to just sort of one cool thing about her character, she really helped me find confidence that I didn't have before, because she's just and like playing that, it really helped me be like, I can be myself, and that's okay. So it's like that I pull from her a lot of inspiration from Leia. I think that if I narrow it down, it's really tied between Leia and Harley for cosplay, for top cosplay characters. And it really just kind of depends on how I'm feeling that day. And favorite non-cosplay role? Oh man. Like if I could play any role ever in life?
Anything. You can like from the start of film to now to plays to it's just an encyclopedia or Wikipedia of things to pick from, which makes it really hard. But you can change your mind later. It's fine too.
Okay. So I'll give you contenders. I love Little Women, that book. I love it, and I would die to play Jo. I would die. It would make my life complete. She's one of my favorite characters of all time. A character I've related to ever since I was a little girl, and if I got to play her, I would just be like, "Oh my god, yes!" Jo is a big one. Who else, Bella? Let's see. I usually have such a long list of this. Arwen in Lord of the Rings, because I love her. I love Lord of the Rings. I'm obsessed with it. I don't know if you can see it, but I have a map of Middle Earth over there. See if I can show it to you real quick. There it is, behind the microphone.
Oh yeah.
Or honestly, here we go. Richard III or Frodo Baggins.
Or Frodo Baggins
to play
as Richard III.
Oh my god!
Like you just smushed the two together. Because because if I had gone in a different direction, I would have liked to have been in The Goodbye Girl. That would have been actually the role that I would have picked. Out of any role, I would have wanted to have been Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, cool!
In that part, that's what I like that movie.
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh,
that would
that's
have been
so
my
cool.
Richard III. So
Richard III is fun. I would love to play Richard III one day, just because so many reasons. So juicy. And I love Frodo Baggins. A lot of people get mad at me for that. A lot of people hate on Frodo, but I don't agree with them. So I think Frodo is amazing. I love him, and he's one of my all-time favorite characters.
Well, a confession that I have to make here is it had been long enough. I hadn't seen Lord of the Rings in such a long time that I couldn't remember that Elijah Wood played the part,
Yeah.
and I got him confused with other possible people who could have played him. I'm like, no, it he wasn't in Spider-Man, was he?
Oh my God,
That's
people. Yeah,
that's
they
not
kind of
him.
Frodo.
That's the guy from Sin City.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
I
yeah.
just I couldn't I'm like trying to search for who he was. I'm like, no, I can only see him as the character. I'm
Yeah.
like I get really bad at that if I haven't seen something in a while.
Yeah. He was so amazing in that role. They all were. I thought those films were cast like amazingly well.
Perfect.
The
Yes.
the original the trilogy, Lord of the Rings trilogy, another thing that made me want to get into film because that just looked like a dream come true. All of it. To work on that, what a workshop, everything. Oh my gosh.
Mm. So your second question, what word of advice would you tell to a young aspiring actress, writer, or filmmaker about moving to LA or New York and pursuing their dream?
Oh boy. Well, three things come to mind. One, if when you do work and when you get a part, do the work. Know your lines, know what you're doing, take it seriously, respect it, and respect everyone else that you are working with. I've seen so many people who sort of are new to it on sets. One time, and this is a true story, and everyone who wants to get into acting should know this now. This poor, actually, I felt really bad. She had got the lead in a commercial that we were shooting. It was for a big cell phone company, and she showed up to set and she didn't know her lines. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't learn them." And I guess I don't know why. I guess she didn't think about it or whatever. And the director was so angry. He was like, "Get off my set right now."
Oh,
Which one of the yeah, he was like, "Which one of the extras knows the lines?" And someone raised their hand and he was like, "Okay, you're going to do the role now." So, yeah, so it's like that's extreme and I would feel really really bad. It was really sad to watch that. I felt terrible, but respect the work, know the work, care about the work, show up ready to respect yourself and the people that are in the room. Number one, yeah, and also going off of that, respect crew. I can't tell you how many people even to me, I was in ensemble when I did Rent, in a theater out a little bit outside New York City, and actually where Jonathan Larson's parents were from I think from White Plains. We did the production there, and there was some people that even me, I was ensemble, and they were like, "Okay, you can go get me a coffee now," and I was like, I don't know who you think you are at this point, and frankly, I don't care. The point is that it's so disrespectful to treat
mm,
anyone like that and to think even for a moment that a production is going to come together only because of you is foolish. It is such a collaborative effort. There are people I couldn't stage manage if someone held a gun to my head and was like, "You have to do this to save your life." I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to edit. These people are so unbelievably talented, and I can't tell you how sick it makes me when I see actors for some reason in their mind think that they can be disrespectful to them. Don't do it. If you have that thought, reconsider acting and think why you think that at all, because it's not correct. In my opinion, like have respect for people. And lastly, on a very probably something I probably should have started with this. If you want to be an actor, a performer of any kind, I would say, but specifically acting, because that's my experience, you need to find whatever it is that helps you have a good relationship with yourself. The industry is so hard. It can be cutthroat. It can be unforgiving. For many different reasons. And it's not personal. You have to remember it's not personal. Listen, unless someone like attacks you and is like, I hate you. Okay, that's probably personal, but that's let it roll off your shoulders. That it's like Teflon. You have to learn how to have a Teflon skin because it's pretty much, there's a lot of rejection all the time. And that's okay. And what you have to know is that you're here to the bug like we were talking about before, like when we started the bug, if you feel this drive, if you care about this, and if you're like, I want to communicate with people, then you are here and what you have to say is worthwhile. And you have to find, like for me, I will like take a bath, or I'll like journal, or sometimes I'll take myself out on like a date or something, just to be like, how are we doing? Are we okay? And I still love you, to myself, even if it feels like the rest of the world is against you. Like, the most important thing is that the world is not against you. You are worthy of this. You are talented, and you should continue to do what you believe, what you really want to, if you feel that, and to learn how to take care of yourself, because no one is going to do it for you. Does that make any sense? Like, and no one can, even if they want to, even if a significant other or a best friend or a parent wants to make you feel better, they can't unless you are there for yourself. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
Oh
Those would
yeah.
be my pieces of advice. Love yourself and be respectful and do the work.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
usually say, the person who spends the most time with you is you.
Yeah.
So treat
Yeah.
yourself well
Yeah.
because it's not like you can get away from yourself.
No, and
You're the only one
like,
in the room. So.
yeah, you're the only one, and you go to sleep with yourself at night, and at the end of the day, so many people say this all the time. There's enough adversity in this particular industry. You don't need to do it to yourself. Listen,
Mhm.
constructive criticism, yes, awesome. I love it. But don't like abuse yourself because of insecurity. I do that. That's like a habit that I do. And I've seen my friends get stuck in that, and it's like, you don't deserve that. You don't need it, and it's not helping you anyway. So a way to learn to truly love yourself, different than being selfish, right? Like
Mhm.
like true self-love is so important. Much easier said than done. I'm still on my own journey with that, but I think it's so important if you're going to go into an industry like this. Yeah.
Oh, it's so well said.
Thanks.
Absolutely. My final question for you, if you could make a positive impact on the world, what is it and why?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's so overwhelming to think that I could anyway, but my the dream would be sort of like, I think I've mentioned a couple times before, the idea of communication. Like, if I feel, for whatever reason, especially now in modern times, it's even me, like, I have anxiety to pick up the like phone. I'll be like, it's so easy to sort of disconnect from people. And I think finding a way to
Mhm.
reconnect and to truly communicate is so much more important than people really think about. And I think acting and theater and writing, that's an outlet to do that. It's like reaching out a hand, like, this is where I am, and I want to meet you wherever it is you are, and whatever that means to you, and help me expand my brain from my ways of thinking into understanding other ways of imagining things. I think it would be, if I could leave anything behind, it would be that idea of communication, and look for hope and humanity in each other, because it's there. People are really awesome, and it's amazing what you'll find if you care to look for it. I don't know if that makes any sense. There's a quote.
It
It was
does.
cool, awesome. Sometimes I see things and I'm
It's
like, Bella, I
like,
don't
what's
know.
that? And
Um,
yes, it's all been just right on.
Cool. Good.
Absolutely.
I'm glad I'm not, you
Mhm.
know, rambling nonsense. Yeah. And I think like, through that, the dream would be, if I could do that through my art, that would be like a dream come true. Like Oscar Wilde said, I never forgot this quote. This is one of my favorite quotes ever since I was a kid. He was like, um, the theater, I believe the theater is the most immediate way in which a human being can share with another the sense of what it is to be a human being. I think that is so important. That idea. Like, yeah, what does it mean to be a human being? And not only that, but how do we find each other? You
Mhm.
know? That would be the dream, I think.
I think so too. I agree. So where can we find you and how can we support you online otherwise?
So nice. I let's see, my Instagram handle is at Jacobella Luongo. That's a lot, I know, but it's just my first and last name. I have all my cosplay and my acting updates there. And I have a website, actually, jacobellaluongo.com. And there I have all of my news, updates, galleries, media files, like reels and commercials and short films and films. And at the end, I also have just for fun, I have Bella makes things. And if you care about or like anything that I make or want to be a part of it also, because there's a contact as well. If anyone wants to, collaborate, work on something, you can go to those sections of my website or just DM me on Instagram as well. And I have like a list of cause plans. I try to say right now there's not anything up, but I try to say as much as I can about upcoming film projects that I want to do. When I get the okay, I put more information when I can, especially when it's indie stuff, like when I make it myself. Um, so yeah, those would be the main points. And please feel free to reach out anytime because you guys are awesome.
Oh, and yes, do check out her website. It's so cool. It's so easy to navigate through, and it's just a really well put together site. So that's me being kind of a UI UX nerd, but really just check it out. Check out everything that Bella does. It's just so it speaks. It really does. I think you're missing out if you don't. Just give it a few minutes of your time at least.
Thank you so
So
much.
so we will leave it at that. And once again, this is Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary podcast. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you the next time. Bye bye.